While I was doing research for a corporate artwork commissioned by the Mercedes-Benz company in Stuttgart, I discovered this charming story about a woman named Bertha who stole her husband's automobile. This event would not be remarkable, except that this was the very first ever auto theft in history.
Bertha!
The first purpose-built gasoline-powered automobile was made by Carl Benz.
Wenn man heute Jubiläen feiert, muss man diesen 29. Januar als den Stichtag nehmen, denn das ist die Geburtsstunde, der Geburtstag des Automobils.
The story is not very typical.
The first ever long-distance road trip was made by a woman, by Bertha Benz.
Vor mir hat überhaupt kein Automobil existiert. Und dann hat mich mein Mann immer als Gefährtin mitgenommen. Und dann habe ich eben als Autosteuerkette, vielleicht auch mal allein, und ich bin auch allein kutschiert.
My grandfather, my great-grandfather, he always was going to develop his car and staying in his garage, and there were 3 children and 4 children to get fed. And there was not much money.
Carl was used to overcoming adversity. When he was not yet 2 years old, his father Johann died, leaving he and his mother only a small pension from the railroad company he'd worked for. Carl himself inherited 5 pocket watches from his father. So they then moved to Karlsruhe, where she found employment as a private cook, and then supplemented her income renting rooms to university students. By the time Carl was 8 years old, he had played with these pocket watches enough to gain an understanding of their workings, and was able to then repair watches and clocks and earn some money at it. Though Johann Benz was absorbed with the possibilities of the steam engine and the railway, Carl's vision transcended his father's. He dreamed of the day when he could drive his father's train off of the railroad tracks and down any road or street in any direction he wished to go, anywhere in the world. Once Carl had earned his engineering degree, he worked in a variety of machinery production factories. In 1868, Carl moved to Pforzheim. He began to attract attention as he was unusually sportive. He designed and built his own pair of ice skates. He loved to dance. And he was the first one in the city to own a bone shaker, an early form of bicycle.
I think he was going out to ride on the bike. He was a very keen bicycle rider.
He also attracted the attention of Bertha Ringer, the daughter of a wealthy family in town. They fell in love, they moved to Mannheim, and were married there. With Bertha's money, they purchased a property where Carl built a business manufacturing tools and machinery to work sheet metal. In his spare time, Carl focused on his invention of the 2-stroke motor. On New Year's Eve, 1878, his prototype was complete, but it just wouldn't run. He was not a quitter, but on this occasion he was stumped.
Es ist zum Beispiel diese berühmte Silvesternacht überliefert.
New Year's Eve, you know, normally you are going out and you are going to dance and you are going to have an evening meal or to meet friends.
Der erste Benz Motor, der stand kurz vor der Vollendung, und da hat sie zum Beispiel darauf bestanden, dass man in dieser Silvesternacht so lange arbeiten soll, bis der Motor läuft.
She said to him, let's go, let's have a look what's going on.
Und auch das ist 100%ig überliefert. In dieser Nacht lief dieser Motor zum ersten Mal.
It was the event that this machine ran. It's very special. So when the machine was going and running, my great-grandmother, she was happy. And therefore New Year's Eve and happy, it goes together, and therefore it's a nice story.
For more than an hour, they listened to it run. Suddenly, the bells started to ring. New Year's bells. It seemed that they didn't only ring in the new year, but a new age. And then, Carl began working on the invention of his automobile in earnest.
Und hat einfach die nicht gelösten Probleme gelöst. Das war das Differential. Hat einen Oberflächenvergaser entwickelt. Hat die Lenkung überlistet, indem ein dreirädriges Fahrzeug genommen hat sich zwei sehr stabile, speziell für diesen Wagen angefertigte Räder bauen lassen. Benz ist ganz konsequent die Einheit Fahrgestell und Motor, sprich Einheit Automobil gegangen. Carl Benz hat sein Patent, seinen dreirädrigen Wagen, den er im Jahre 1885 gebaut hat, mit Wirkung vom 29. Januar 1886 beim Kaiserlichen Patentamt in Berlin zum Patent angemeldet. Die Urkunde ist dann erst im November ausgegeben worden, aber der Geburtsschein des Automobils ist eindeutig der 29. Januar 1886 und zwar ausgestellt auf Carl Benz.
In 1888, Carl had a number of setbacks. The Kaiser and the church came out against his motor wagon.
Es ist dann noch eine ganz spannende Geschichte überliefert. Es ist eigentlich eine Tatsache, die auch durch Schriftform festgehalten ist, dass die Kirchen damals ganz schlimm gegen diese ersten Fahrzeuge geschimpft haben. Das waren Teufelskarren, das waren Hexenkarren und man musste sich davor hüten, sowas nur zu Gesicht zu bekommen.
He lost his financial backing. There were complaints to the government about the noise. It spooked the horses, it upset the people. And the government was prompted to decree that Carl could no longer drive his vehicle anywhere, anytime. And they posted guards in front of his factory door to enforce this.
Dann sind sie aber auf eine Idee gekommen, damit die das Auto nicht vorne raus, bei T3 rausfahren und doch fahren mit dem Auto, haben die vorne an den Ausgang einen Polizisten hingestellt. Ja?
So, as a result, he parked the cars and stopped driving. However, Bertha had absolute faith in him and his vehicle, and knew that if it would only become known, he would be a success. They had to make it known somehow.
She was a very clever person.
August 1888, in the early morning on a Sunday, Bertha Benz stole the car of Carl Benz.
It was not imaginable that a woman without her husband could make such a tour. It was forbidden for her to make this tour.
In der Entwicklungszeit des Autos durften die ja nicht fahren. Ne? Mein Urgroßvater hat ja Fahrverbote gekriegt. Jedenfalls haben sie dann gesagt, wenn sie uns vorne nicht rauslassen, gehen wir hinten raus. Hinten gab es nämlich einen Ausgang und dann sind sie nach hinten raus, sind sie hinten rumgefahren. Ne?
She was accompanied with her two sons, Eugen and Richard. So they started this road trip from her home in Mannheim to the house of her mother in Pforzheim, and this was a kind of 100 kilometers. This was very long.
Consider all the risks on this journey they never had made before for a distance of over 60 or 70 miles. The stability of the car was not tested over such a distance. A lot of risks and nobody knew what happened.
During this road trip, they had many difficulties to overcome.
So because of the way the cooling system was designed on the single piston engine, Bertha and her sons had to stop often to get water, to refill the water tank. When it was possible, they could get the water from a well or a restaurant in the village that they were passing through. But there were numerous times that the only place to get water was from the river or a canal or even a little stream.
Das Erste, was sie feststellen mussten, ist, dass der Treibstoff ausging. Man hatte sich wahrscheinlich nur diesen kleinen 5 Liter fassenden Tank damit gefüllt. Und kurz vor Wiesloch merkten sie, dass das Fahrzeug nicht mehr fuhr, haben es dann bis an die Stadtapotheke in Wiesloch geschoben und haben bei dem dortigen Apotheker, einem gewissen Herrn Ockel, der damals Besitzer der Apotheke war, Ligruin gekauft.
Only when the three-wheel Carl Benz motorwagen is for filling in front of the pharmacy. Then I will get this bottle and fill this kind of gasoline, it's a low boiling gasoline, into the tank of the three-wheel Benz motorwagen.
And because of this Mr. Ockel, the first gas station in the world is this pharmacy store, Apotheke called in Germany, in Wiesloch.
Eine weitere Begebenheit war, auf diesen staubigen Wegen hatten sich die Kraftstoffleitungen verstopft. Sie hat ihre Hutnadel genommen.
So Bertha, she took her head pin, this was a kind of this long, and she unplugged this. Other problem came up, this was that on the wire to the sparkling. This was, the wire was, the insulation was torn.
Ein Kabel hatte sich am Rahmen dieses Fahrzeuges blank gescheuert und sie hat ihr Strumpfband genommen.
So Bertha, she took her garter and wrapped this up, so this was working again.
Just outside of Bruxelles, the trio had to find a blacksmith. From driving on mostly unpaved roads, the drive chains had become encrusted with oil and dirt, and one of the chains stretched enough to come off of the drive gear. The smith they located was overjoyed to help. He had heard of Carl Benz's invention and was very pleased to meet them all. The smith insisted he would make the repairs for free, and even directed Bertha and the boys to a nearby restaurant where they could get lunch while he made the repairs to their motorwagon.
In einem kleinen Ort, der kurz vor Pforzheim liegt.
The roads in this area, they are uphill and downhill, so it was hard work for the brakes.
Wurden auf einmal die Bremsklötze blank, griffen nicht mehr richtig. Diese Klotzbremse hier, dieses Holz war einfach sehr glatt geschliffen.
Bertha, she got a very smart idea. She went to a shoe repair store.
und sie ist dort zum Schuster gegangen und hat sich Leder auf diese Hölzer nageln lassen.
This means Bertha invented the brake pad.
Sie ist tatsächlich in Pforzheim am gleichen Abend angekommen und konnte nach Hause telegrafieren, dass sich der liebe Karl keine Sorgen machen müsse. Man ist eben wohlbehalten angekommen.
This arrival of Carl's patent motor wagon generated so much fame that it blew away all other restrictions and barriers and guaranteed the arrival of the automobile into all of our lives.
What I learned from my great-grandparents, to stay for what you are and to think over what's going on and to help and to dream also and to have ideas even and to have visions. That I think it's very important.
She knew what the potential of her husband was. He was ingenious, yes, and she knew this.
You're good right there.
Put your heads on in the middle.
Oh, you guys.
Can you please put your camera away?
Oh, yeah. I think so. Yeah, okay.
Yes, okay, here we are. No, that's okay, I don't have your feet. Honey, you're fine.